Hello, I'm Isaac, and we remember it so you don't have to. If you have been emotionally affected by this phrase, you are entitled to legal compensation.
Absolutely. A lot of legal compensation.
My God. Well, and then there's all the people that really are entitled to legal compensation because of that guy with the glasses.com. Did you follow the change the channel movement at all?
No, I'm not as fresh on all the nostalgia critic bullshit as everybody else.
Let me tell you, when you're 12 years old and you're looking for... It wasn't supposed to be a rap. It kind of became one. Okay. There were not a lot of options in 2010 for online film critics, and specifically his brand of film criticism, which is screaming into a microphone and this film makes me want to put diarrhea in my ear.
It's
absurd shit.
Yeah.
No one reacts that way. But they act like they react that way.
Yeah. It's the rage. It's why people started watching Twitch streamers and people play Let's Players because they like to watch people rage, and it's funny seeing funny man rage about a movie.
It's why we have 5-hour videos on YouTube where
God.
A furry icon is gonna lecture you about why The Last Jedi actually killed more people than the Holocaust.
Have you seen that? I was gonna say, speaking of the Holocaust, did you hear?
Not a great transition.
Not a great transition, but it made me think of it. I was gonna bring it up anyway. With Norm Mcdonald.
Yes. I've been watching clips of his all week.
I would like to mention my favorite clip of his is his stand-up routine. He had a 12-minute joke about Janice. Have you heard that one?
No, I don't think I have.
You need to listen to it.
I love his long jokes though. Have you heard the moth one?
Yes.
Okay. He was the master of that anti-humor where he just is speaking out of his ass for 3 minutes and then gets to a punchline, and it's always good. It's always good.
Have you heard the youthful porpoise, the one he did on Conan?
No.
That one's good. He wasted so much time, and the audience started laughing and clapping, and Conan was like, don't applaud him for that, because it was such a dumb punchline, but it was so funny. Everybody's remembering him because he was in a bunch of Adam Sandler movies, though. But
that's one of the ways he's going to be remembered, because that SNL click was tight, but I'll always remember my first exposure to Norm Macdonald was that show Mike Tyson Mysteries.
Oh, really?
He's the voice of the pigeon that they have on the team, and he's fucking hilarious. He's so deadpan and serious. It's it's so good. Not serious. No, he's just Norm Macdonald. It's in cartoon voice. Form. I love it.
He also voiced the dog in Dr. Dolittle, the Eddie Murphy one.
Oh, that's right. What a weird intersection.
Just got back from shooting weekend, and my computer's been off for 3 days.
So you shot some stuff, huh?
I did. It went pretty well. I'm happy. I'm actually, after this, I'm going to go to Luke's and pick up the footage, and I'm going to look at it and assess.
Yeah.
But from what I saw on set, though, we got some great stuff. I'm excited for everybody to see it in 3 years.
Yeah. It's still probably going to come out before... Crimes. Well, the third remake will probably be in development by then.
Yeah, the trilogy will be finished by the time the fucking first one comes out. But that's really just waiting on music right now. For everybody wondering, my composer is working on the score right now, so that's and he's really busy. So I'm gonna have to get over there one day and kind of expedite it, but.
Oh, yeah.
Just know that my job is done.
Okay.
So I'm putting it off on somebody else.
Casey Hubbard is officially distancing himself from the project once known as Crimes of Good Intentions. Dude, well, I'm very excited to see it. I luckily don't know much about this one, which I think will be fun. Because I like that about Cheez-Its and Chili, is that I did not work on that one, so it's just kind of a fun ride to your ending in that one. Go watch the short films on this channel. They're made by our very own Casey. Wow. Just
thank you.
I'm so excited for you.
I'm excited for you to see it. This one's got a twist too. I'm excited for everybody to see it.
I still haven't seen Crypsis either. Is that up yet?
I didn't put it on YouTube because I submitted it to a festival, and festivals are weird about it being streamed and stuff.
They don't want it out there in the world.
But I didn't get in, so I guess everybody can watch it on YouTube. I'll upload it to YouTube.
Woo! You hear that? I advocated for our film experience.
Yeah, I'll try to upload it along with this episode so we can. I'll link it and y'all can go watch it, or it'll be up on the channel. So when you go to if you listen on YouTube. It'll be up on YouTube on our Mind Over Movies channel.
Well, presumably, if you make a movie, you have to have probably seen a movie before. Did you see any this last week?
No, not this last week. No, because I was doing stuff for my film. I didn't have any time, so I'm trying to think if I rewatched a couple episodes of season 7 of Game of Thrones.
Though. That one is always kind of iffy territory for me. Like anything post the books, other than season 6, which I think was probably the last great season.
I agree. Yeah, season 7 is a little iffy. My roommates have been watching. One of them hasn't seen it, so they're watching. They made it to season 7. And we watched the last 2 episodes of season 7. So I'm rewatching it. After I've only seen season 7 through once, and rewatching it. Now that season 8's over.
Yeah.
Yeah, season 7. Probably it's definitely iffy. I think the first half is way better than the second half.
The
last 2 episodes, man, are just, you can just tell, right? The writing is. I'm like, man, in season 3 this shit would have never happened. Like when they're on the middle of the ice and the lake and the dead are coming and then Khaleesi comes up with the dragons and everything. I'm like, that shit wouldn't have happened. That shit would not have flew in season 3, man, and probably for the better, Weird choices in season 7, but that's really all I've watched, and a bunch of Norm Mcdonald clips.
Yeah,
but yeah.
No, I think, without getting too much into spoilers, just like season 7 ruined a lot of characters that I'd loved to maybe hate up until that point. And it kind of cheated with how it accelerated events, like nonsensical things happened to drive the plot forward, and I think it really hurt. Like, Game of Thrones should have been 10 seasons. That's the consensus, and we gave season 7 slack at the time because we thought the last season is gonna bring it home, and then it didn't, and it's like, well, shit. So this was just bad too. It's a tough feeling to go through that with
very rushed.
My favorite, one of my favorite shows. Like up until that point, it was.
Yeah. I remember loving it. Like I got my mom watching it.
Yeah, I got my parents to watch the whole goddamn series before season 8 came out. It was great. Yeah. My mom never likes violent stuff like that, and my parents do not binge. Like if they watch 2 episodes of a show in a night, that's a crazy binge session.
Right.
But so they would watch like 4 or 5 at a time. And one weekend I left on Friday, and when I got back, it was like the last episode of season 4, and it had been before the Red Wedding. Wow. When I had last seen them watching something. They had watched 15 episodes of television between that.
That's amazing.
I don't blame them.
Yeah. Me and my mom sat down and watched the whole season in a day.
That's awesome.
We woke up. She's like, "Hey, you want to watch that show?" I'm like, "Sure, Mom."
Hell yeah.
It was cool. It's a very addictive show.
I gotta say, I think I can return to the show and still love it because even though the resolution there wasn't super strong, we still have the books, and I'm almost caught up on the books. I have one more book, and then I'll be where the books were in 2011, and hopefully we're getting a 6th one soon. But
it's been 10 years.
They're fucking good, and they diverge a lot in the plot points that you would like to see them diverge. The stuff that remained loyal to the books that's in the show is amazing. It's in there word for word, page for page. The stuff that you always kind of wished would be different is, and it works better because it kind of gives itself more to that fantastical world element, whereas the people who made the television show kind of took efforts to ground it. They didn't have for example, Catelyn Stark didn't come back to life.
Yeah.
in
I
the show.
remember somebody told me about that happening in the books. I was like, well, that's crazy.
Oh, that's kind of a big spoiler. My bad. Yeah.
Well,
oh well.
I'll bleep it or whatever.
Yeah, or maybe don't. Maybe just you should have seen it by now. No, I'm kidding. I hate when people say that. I didn't watch too much. I did finish Brooklyn Nine-Nine today. That had its last season come out, and that's just a show I've watched over the years. That I've always thought is pretty consistently funny, and it had its own like little run-in with being like canceled and then like brought back. Like it was canceled for like maybe a week, and then like Seth Meyers, Guillermo del Toro, like Mark Hamill, like all teamed up to like save it. Right. It was kind of incredible, but it was definitely a show worth saving, and it was really interesting this year because like as a show about police, to have to come out with like your last season after like 2020.
Yeah.
I mean, that's hard. And they definitely took that year to heart when making this season. And you can tell like a lot of it is about police reform. A lot of it is about like the ethics of being a police officer in the first place and the responsibilities that they have in our society. And I want to say that it works really well, but it's actually pretty clunky, like political commentary, which is a shame because it's like I agree with everything they're saying, but like I think it's proof that like you can't just state what's right. You have to convey that message in a meaningful way in order for it to work and resonate with people. Otherwise, people are going to see it as pandering or like I know more than you, which I mean isn't always the worst thing, but I don't think it helps with this series. But the last season was still great, like a lot of pleasing moments, and I'm gonna miss it a lot. And then I also finished a trilogy I've been working on for a while because I stopped between 2 and 3 for a really long period. I finished the Raimi Trilogy yesterday.
Yeah.
I wrote like a ridiculously long review of Spider-Man 3 on my Letterboxd. I felt like impassioned, and maybe I'll bring a little bit of my thoughts here, but like I think Spider-Man 3 on paper like resolves that trilogy like beautifully. I think that if you look at all the beats that happen throughout all 3 Spider-Man movies, I mean, they're great. They play into each other and they resolve in a satisfactory way in the finale. It's just like shit is fucking nuts in 3. Like not only is it over like bloated with villains, you've got Venom, you've got the Sandman, and you've got Harry as this like half-baked like new Green Goblin, Hobgoblin, which I did have the Rice Krispie toy of. Yeah, that was a big moment of my childhood was getting that one.
I had Sandman and Venom.
Nice.
But
like there's that amnesia storyline, like Harry bonks his head early on in the movie, and he really does forget that Peter is Spider-Man and that his like dad is dead. But like James Franco is actually a terrible actor, and it's just like not believable at all. And he's like hamming it up. He's like, "So, Pete, do I have any girlfriends? Pete, do I have any girlfriends?" And they like really go with that joke. That's the thing about Spider-Man 3 is it like it leans into these concepts. And they're pretty great concepts if you break them down to their elements, but they go like in such a crazy, absurd direction. Like the idea of the symbiote taking over the suit and like bringing out his aggression and his toxic masculinity is nice, but like pair that with like Venom being like shoved into the movie, right? It's not even for that long. Like it's only like 30 minutes of the movie that Eddie Brock is like Venom, but it's bad. It feels so messy,
I will say one of my favorite shots, like that I think is like fully realized, is when Eddie. I know the scene is kind of joked on because Eddie Brock goes to the church and prays to God to kill Peter Parker.
Yeah.
But after that, when the symbiote grabs him and there's that shot of him like with it and it's like basically covering him. I think like the moonlight is on him or something. I don't know. It's like a really well composed shot, and I remember seeing that as a kid and thinking like, wow, he's in them now.
It make you a filmmaker.
It make me filmmaker. Yeah, Spider-Man 3 did, definitely.
My gosh.
No, I just remember that scene. Though. I like that scene a lot, and I like the Sandman storyline a lot. But it's just good. It feels, it's one of those things that's in there that's part of the bloatiness of it. I feel like.
And it doesn't really like resolve in a very like graceful way. He just like kind of shows up and goes like, "Oh yeah, I did like try and murder you, but like here's the scoop on the whole Uncle Reno thing." Yeah.
I know you did mute a bunch of people on Twitter because they were talking about Spider-Man, but since I didn't mute them, I did. Did you happen though to see the deleted scene from Spider-Man 3 with the sandcastle?
No.
So he shows up at his son or his daughter. I can't remember. Daughter. She like is playing in the park, and there's this like beautifully built sandcastle, and she walks up to it, and like a hand impression on the sandcastle like forms, and she puts her hand on it, and then she like the mom like yells at her to leave, and when she goes to the car, she looks back, and the sandcastle's gone. It was just like a really sweet moment, but it was a deleted scene from the movie, and I was like, that probably. I mean, I haven't seen Spider-Man 3 in a while, but that scene probably would have worked really well if it was kept in the movie.
It would have. It would have been nice to have, because as it is, that storyline feels like a lot of exposition being yelled, just for this character to fit into the timeline. Like, it's a total retcon of, like, what happens in Spider-Man 1, too. And it's like, I get why they're returning to that, because like Peter's guilt about Uncle Ben's death is a really good motivator for like the things he does. It's just like they could have used something else maybe, and like they didn't have to have like Harry make Mary Jane and Peter break up. Their relationship was naturally headed there, like because of the movie. Like what's so great about the Raimi trilogy is that these are such real personal challenges of being like a real adult. It's not just like a superhero story. It's like when you get older, like it's so hard to balance like everything in your life and to keep not only your like goals and dreams straight, but then that of like others in your life, and you do distance yourself from people. Like Mary Jane and Peter's like distance from each other in this movie, that's fucking real. I don't know, I love that aspect of this movie, and that's why it's so hard for me to like rag on it, because I think in its pinky it's still got like a lot more heart and a lot more like personal feeling than like most superhero movies that come out. It's just clunky. It's just really clunky.
For sure. Sad.
Yeah. What else are you sad about? Anything?
I am sad about the deficit. The deficit is down.
The stock market do be crashing.
It do be crashing. I don't know. Did you watch anything else though?
I don't think so. I think maybe just an episode of The Circle or something.
Oh, heck yeah.
I love The Circle, man.
I still need to watch that. I haven't watched any episodes.
You don't need to. It is reality television, so it won't add anything to your life, but you might like it. Yeah. Who knows? I love it.
Well, let's get into our topic for today. We put the poll out on Twitter, and y'all voted for films that changed the world. And this can be films that changed, cinema's landscape, changed the actual world, changed our culture. We're going to be talking about all of it. Films that had a really, huge impact just on this life that we're living. And I want to go and look first at our
listener poll.
Yeah, listener poll. And so we asked y'all to drop some films. So I'll start with kind of a joke that our friend Jacob made about Louis Le Prince. Jacob says, Louis Le Prince invented the first film camera and shot the Roundhay Garden scene, the first ever footage from said film camera. Literally being the first ever reel of film ever made means that without Louis Le Prince, we wouldn't have Marvel movies. And Luke commented and said, all of cinema history, and you chose Marvel movies. He meant that as sort of like he was joking. I asked him about it, and he said he was being a little shit, basically.
Yeah.
But however, it is true though. The Roundhay Garden scene. Invented the first camera.
Nuking Hiroshima invented hentai. Same thing.
Same thing. But then we have Saxon. Saxon commented, it may not seem like it by today's standards, but I would argue that Philadelphia was one of the first major steps forward in regards to queer representation in film, as well as helping change societal attitudes towards those in the LGBTQ plus community. It's not a perfect film, but considering that gay characters were generally not portrayed in a positive light, especially in the midst of the AIDS epidemic, it was pretty groundbreaking for its time. To have a gay character as the lead in a mainstream film and to make steps to destigmatize AIDS in the process was pretty big for the time. It led to more queer characters appearing in mainstream films, and we started to see more honest portrayals of LGBTQ plus people in media. While representation has come a long way since and still has a little way to go in some areas, Philadelphia definitely deserves some credit for being one of the first major films to pave the way for better LGBTQ plus representation in media. And yeah, having seen Philadelphia with Tom Hanks and oh God, who's the other guy in that film? Do you remember? Have you seen Philadelphia?
I have not.
It's a
I've
great
always
film.
meant to, and I mean, Tom Hanks won Best Actor for it, and then went on to do Forrest Gump. Sorry,
Forrest Gump,
I had to think about the name of Forrest Gump. That's sad, man.
It was Denzel Washington, and it was directed by Jonathan Demme.
There we go. Okay, yeah, that's why it's. That's why it's a certified classic.
It's a certified classic. Yeah, Philadelphia is a great film. It's I believe it was the first film to really tackle the AIDS epidemic in a more positive light. Because Denzel's character struggles with representing Tom Hanks in the film. Tom Hanks is a lawyer, I believe, in the movie, but he hires a lawyer to help him in a case because he gets fired from his job for having AIDS. So it was he felt it was discrimination. So he lawyers up with Denzel, and Denzel doesn't really. He has a hard time representing him because he's gay and he doesn't quite understand it. But the movie, obviously there's a lot. Obviously, Denzel's character comes around and he realizes whatever. But really, the core of the movie is about discriminating against people who have AIDS, thinking that they can that it's contagious for them. It's really the movie. It does, Saxon has said it's not a perfect movie. It's not, because it is, I don't know, like the way that some of the characters are portrayed, it's really hammed up, I feel like. But in terms of it being the first film to tackle it, it's pretty damn good. It could have been a lot worse. And like he was saying, the representation is pretty solid in the film. And it is an important movie. It's actually on a lot of I read the whole Wikipedia article about it when I watched the movie, and it has helped a lot. It's on a bunch of lists, for top in queer cinema and stuff like that. And yeah, you should definitely watch it. I want to know your thoughts on it, actually, because I think it's good. There, obviously it's got some hammed up performances and maybe hokey characters, but for the most part, I agree, Saxon.
Well, nice. I definitely do feel like that's a deficit in my film buff status. I gotta get on Philadelphia for sure. I just want to watch more Jonathan Demme movies anyway. Like I want to get wise to everything that he's done, because I love Silence of the Lambs especially so much. But those were all really good choices. Even Jacob being a little shit,
Yeah.
But I want to know what you wrote, because I don't care about anyone else, Casey. I only care about your opinion.
So we're gonna start off with a little bit of a darker one.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We should alternate, by the way.
Yeah, we definitely.
Yeah, or else people will click off before they get to hear me.
I know. Okay.
I'll kill you.
I'll hurry.
Okay. No, don't hurry.
Entice them. The first film on my list that I would say changed the world. It didn't impact the world in a positive way whatsoever. The first one is The Birth of a Nation. First film screened inside the White House.
Wow.
First film screened at the White House was Cabiria, but it was on the front lawn. I believe. I'll fact check myself after the episode. But definitely, it was screened at the White House, and it was very popular, and it changed the world actually for two reasons. It changed the way filmmakers thought about how to shoot cinema, how to use the camera and use technology to their advantage to make epic movies like this one was. However, there was a huge increase. Actually, approximately 4 million people joined the KKK after this film came out. It was pretty much a dead organization, a dead. It had like very few members, and when this film came up, its popularity spread like wildfire. Kind of got like a rebirth of the KKK after this film, because the KKK were the heroes in the movie. Very bad, it's such a sensitive talking point when you talk about cinema history, because you don't want to praise it too much for its awful substance, but then again, pretty much almost everything we have today comes from what and the director's name is failing me. Howard Hawks, is that his name?
I don't know.
It was. I think his name was Howard Hawks.
I'm not the film scholar you want me to be.
It's okay.
I'm the one you need.
Yeah. However, it's we owe a lot to it as D.W. Griffith, not Howard Hawks. I'm stupid. I'm sorry, Howard Hawks.
What the hell, man?
D.W. Griffith. We owe a lot to him in terms of like how we,
are racist.
Well, are racist and. Yeah, it's just a tough film, but definitely I would put that at the top films that changed the world.
I think it is always a kind of a difficult discussion. These like more controversial. I'm sorry, I keep kicking the desk. I think I've got the shaky leg. I think I've got the stanky leg.
Do the shaky leg.
These important works that were made by like shit people. Literary scholars always have a tough time with like Lovecraft, because he's influenced like everything. He's one of the most prolific sci-fi writers ever, and he's also a horrible racist. And sexist too. Like his works have not aged well in terms of like being culturally acceptable at all. And honestly, the works themselves like that I've read, like they're imaginative, they're amazing, but you feel that imprint on them, and you feel that like uncleanliness, but it's important work. Like it really is. Some of the most influential work of all time is horrible. It's always tough to acknowledge, but it is important.
You know what his cat's name was? Have I told you about that? Lovecraft's cat.
No.
I can't say it, obviously.
But dear God. Yeah. Oh, wait, I remember.
Yeah, it's awful. I was on a film set, and there was a guy talking. We were talking about Lovecraftian horror, and this black gentleman who was on the set, he turned around and he said, "You guys do know what his cat's name was, right?" And we were like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "He was a horrible racist," and we looked it up. It's very bad.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. But he was laughing about it on set because we didn't know, and I was like, "I'm sorry." But what's your film? What do you have?
Ooh, okay. So my first one that I picked, I kind of jumped away from like the old like 20s and 30s and 40s movies, because I mean, while they're obviously like all very influential, like those type of movies have never been like very important in my life, and I don't think I have a lot to say that like much smarter and more like
they've been talking about
well watched critics like could say about them,
like Citizen Kane.
Like Citizen Kane. I have nothing. I don't think anyone has anything new to add to Citizen Kane. I mean, we can just make new movies about making Citizen Kane to like drag out the discussion, but it's not. Anyway,
right.
My first movie is from 1962.
Okay.
It's Dr. No, which is the first James Bond movie. And I think that this is an important movie because it's probably the basis of all modern blockbuster franchises. Like, I mean, even before Jaws, there was Bond. And Bond, like, came back after every few years or so, which was kind of unheard of for the 60s. Like, sequels were something that studios avoided, and Bond was like made with the intention of there being a lot of them. And I mean, in this first movie, you can see like they're laying down the blueprints for what would become so iconic in the culture, like the way Bond introduces himself, the way he asks for his drink, you know, even the women he chooses to keep as his company, you know, like they're called Bond girls, and like that term has been used across like so much media. And I mean, Bond is another, you know, aging franchise that you look back at a lot of elements of it now, and it's outdated for sure. Like,
Definitely.
Especially, you know, the most influential part of it, you know, Bond girls that's a pretty misogynistic and like terrible concept, and it's led to a lot of problematic like male gazy like action movies. And I mean, I think Bond is the very like architect of that trend in films, but it's also still a brutally like entertaining franchise. Like I love going back and watching any era of Bond except Roger Moore. Roger Moore can suck big old pee-pee.
Okay.
Also, Pierce Brosnan after GoldenEye, not so great. Tomorrow Never Dies, pretty good. Now, Daniel Craig, this is harder. You gotta skip every other movie. So, Casino Royale, skip Quantum of Solace. Skyfall, skip Spectre. Hopefully, No Time to Die. Maybe has something to add to this trend. You know, keep up the pattern of being good, go out on a good note. It's crazy to me that Daniel Craig is now the longest running Bond, because going back to Dr. No, Sean Connery's take on the character, like, it lasted so long. And, like, because he kept returning to the role in an unofficial capacity. Like there was that big controversy in the 80s when two different film studios had the rights to James Bond stories.
Yeah.
And so the other studio that wasn't MGM hired Sean Connery to come back. Like, how do you compete with that? Like, they went back to the fucking source.
Thunderball? Is that the name
It was
of it?
Thunderball, but it was remade into a movie called Never Say Never Again.
Yeah.
Like, the author of Thunderball, no, the screenwriter of Thunderball sued MGM, won, got the rights to Thunderball, so he had the right to remake it.
Yeah.
And he did, and people hated it. Like, it was not a great movie. I've seen like most of it. It's not very good.
It's not very good.
But yeah, Bond, like, it is probably the direct father of all action movies, especially spy thrillers, and just the tropes that come with being a franchise.
Yeah.
Like, especially with catchphrases and iconography that appears in every film, like just the opening shot of him shooting the camera. That's
so iconic. And I would also say the villain in the movie. I remember Dr. No is also a direct product of the Cold War, I would also say, because, you know, the nuclear aspect of it, the villain having his lair and everything, like, that's something we don't only see in Bond. We see that a lot.
Yeah.
There's like a charismatic villain in the film, and, you know, fucking nukes, and especially during the 60s, 50s and 60s, and some of the 70s, the Cold War aspect of, I'm going to launch nukes and start the next World War. Yeah, that's the big thing.
Well, there's like a Bond movie where like a Russian like satellite is just like eating like American rocket ships. It's like fucking hilarious how like based in the Cold War it is. I mean, and that's why when like GoldenEye came out post Cold War, people didn't know if that character, you know, if Bond could exist without the Ruskies, you know? Like, what is he if not a heroic symbol of capitalism in the West, you know? He's fucking British, and he shags girls across the world.
Girls across the world. He's an international super spy.
But anyway, yeah, that's my 2 cents on Dr. No. What's your next pick?
So I was thinking about this, and I probably can't pin it to an exact film. Maybe a genre.
Okay.
I would say slasher films.
I would say, like, probably
Halloween.
Psycho being the
Psycho
first.
being the first, right?
Psycho being, like, the idea could form here, and Halloween is, like, the first movie that... Or, no, Black Christmas is the first movie that, like, makes good on that. Halloween, like, popularizes the trend, and I think Alien makes it a staple. you know,
Right.
even before Friday the 13th. Like
Exactly. Yeah, I was gonna say slasher films have definitely influenced our culture and how we think about, you know, walking home alone at night or like going camping and stuff like that. It's definitely because it's something I always talk to like older people, and they're just like, obviously the world's, you know, gotten a lot more dangerous in past few decades, but I would say a lot of the hysteria of it is because of slasher films.
Yeah.
I would say, you know, when Psycho also kind of changed the film landscape of like how we think about thrillers and horror.
Yeah.
But you know, things like Halloween, Black Christmas, even Friday the 13th.
I mean Ed Gein, just the man.
Yeah, just Ed Gein. Really put the fear of like, you know, serial killers and like murder into the culture. You know, we have, you know, just like, you know, I can relate it now. We have this, the Gabby Petite case.
Yeah.
Going on right now, completely captivating the nation because, and a large part of that due to, you know, podcasts like Crime Junkies. Like, there's a conversation about whether like the obsession with true crime is good or not. To me, it's an annoying conversation. It's just like, to me, it's just like people have their fascinations. Like, get the fuck over it. We don't have to talk about, you know, in depth everything about this, but, you know, people gravitating towards like the true crime, I feel like is also sort of a direct, you know, I guess symptom of people enjoying slasher movies so much.
Yeah, I think that true crime is definitely what you can tie like modern fear of like being beaten to death in the street to.
Yeah.
Like, I think this is kind of a funny way to look at it, but like I think if you go back to like the 19th century, like throughout that century, you know, people just kind of accepted a fact of life is that like you could be beaten to death in an alleyway. And like they weren't as like afraid. These people didn't live in fear of like being mugged in the street, you know, like it might happen, but like, you know, media didn't play up the fact that it does happen. And I think with true crime, you know, especially with like In Cold Blood by Truman Capote, like they finally analyze like the fact that these horrible crimes are happening all of the time.
Yeah.
The people behind them are humans, and they have stories that people want to hear because the extremity of being a killer is something that we are fascinated with. And I think that's part of the drive of the slasher movies in general, is like each installment is a chance to learn about this like killer persona that we don't really see in our society or in our everyday lives, you know. Like Michael Myers and Jason have become more iconic in the culture rather than the movies that spawn them. Like I don't think everyone has seen Halloween or Friday the 13th, but they know about these characters.
Exactly.
It's like
Yeah.
symbol creators.
Yeah, and what I think is so interesting about Halloween is that, you know, they call throughout the whole franchise, we've kind of like they've said, what about Michael Myers? They've been like, Michael Myers, the character, they're like, he's the epitome, he's evil, he's literally the devil, like he can't be killed, he's evil. But in the first movie, you know, that we see him, he's just a kid that kills his sister, I believe.
Yeah, well, his mom. Yeah.
And it's like, I think that's really showing, you know, the audience thinks of us, oh, he's like a supernatural entity, but like, no, like he's just evil. He's a human being. He's evil. It puts somebody, you know, behind them. He wears a mask, but it's behind that is like a real person. And I think that's what was so horrifying about it, and what really coaxed everybody into having these fears. Not that the fears are unfounded, but just, you know, if you look around, like, you know, Halloween, especially like the actual holiday Halloween, you know, everybody, slashers are you know, everybody dresses up as Jason, everybody dresses up as Michael Myers. You know, it's huge impact. And I would say probably, like you were saying, Black Christmas, Halloween are the ones that really spearheaded that. Psycho being the prologue, really. So
media has gone a long way in like helping commercialize like holidays, keeping the American public like spending. Like I think, that's something I love about horror movies is their folklore and their hold on the culture, but also it's something that I resent. It's like you are a product of like trying to get me to like spend money on like a rubber mask in October,
Yeah.
And that's the point. It's like it's a way to make money off of your fear. And it's so weird that happens, But I mean, that's all like crime content to me.
Yeah.
Is like, even if it's done in a very tasteful way, which obviously slasher movies are not tasteful to victims or people who are mentally disturbed. But like, even like, I don't know, even like a reputable like crime podcast, I feel like you are commercializing a real person's death, someone else's like personal tragedy. You are capitalizing on it and you are manipulating it in a way that you're gaining profit. And I don't know how I feel about that in general. Like, I'm gonna always listen to it because it is captivating and it is intriguing, but like morally speaking, like the steps to do that, it's just like, I wonder,
Yeah, definitely.
Something to think about.
It is. What do you got for us?
Yeah, I got another film coming your way. We're still in the 60s. We're going to jump up to 68, though. Okay. And 2001, A Space Odyssey, I think, is just a film that you cannot leave out in talking about, the most influential movies of all time. Like, I think Kubrick definitely has to be on your list of directors who are
definitely,
important. And I think this is maybe my favorite Kubrick project. I go back and forth on it, The Shining, and Clockwork Orange. Like, they all kind of fight for my favorite spot. But God, that's 3 movies. That's like not. It's not very choosy of me. I'm not very decisive. But I think that 2001 is the movie that lifted the science fiction genre out of kind of like B-movie schlock into high art.
Yes.
And I think that its importance to critics and its wowing of audiences paved the way for many a successful franchise. Star Wars being among them,
right.
Which I think that might be people's like first pick when talking about like maybe the most influential science fiction film of all time. But I do think that it owes it all to 2001. And 2001 owes a little bit to Star Trek, but it's mostly it's the first space film that really makes it feel real. And so real that people still think that Stanley Kubrick faked the moon landing just because of how crazily well done his space shots are.
I mean, to this day, I look at it and I'm like, how the fuck did you do that? How the fuck did they do that?
They're incredible.
So crazy, yeah.
I love that movie so much, but it's got revolutionary direction. It was an interesting story at the time because it's episodic and like not a lot of dialogue. Like, we like to think that older movies were more comfortable with silence, but it was not that amount of silence. Like, this was abnormal for its time, and it set a precedent for like art house films in general. I think that silence, that meditation that came with it. And I mean, it got people crazy about space. I mean, it was the year before we landed on the moon still. And like, this is probably a movie that people were watching hand in hand with like footage of Neil Armstrong on the moon. Like, this is what we imagine space travel to be like, and here's finally some tangible proof of what it looks like.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think that you cannot ignore that it's got its clutches in our science fiction culture still. I mean, I think a lot of people confuse Interstellar as an original movie when it's just lazy 2001. I actually need to rewatch Interstellar. A lot of my friends really love it. I know. I need to give it another chance.
I would say also, speaking like we jump over a few years to 1972. Let's go over to Russia. Andrei Tarkovsky with Solaris.
Yeah.
Solaris is a lot like 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Even slower, right?
Even slower.
That's
even
crazy.
more slow burn.
I believe it. I watched Stalker.
Yeah. I think Solaris, though, the point of Solaris is a little bit different than 2001, but it definitely, I would say it probably influenced Tarkovsky at least a little bit. I don't think it's talked about, but it definitely, they're very similar.
Yeah.
Like the way the space station, the production design on both movies is absolutely fucking amazing. But, the slowness and the high, it's a high art sci-fi film. It's, and they're only 4 years apart. I would say 2001 and Solaris are, Solaris being a little bit underlooked, more like 2001 starting, revamping sci-fi out of its schlop into high art. I want to say Solaris might actually help in having a hand with that, but the fact that it was a Russian film, probably not a lot of people see it. Film buffs, obviously.
Yeah.
Filmmakers probably seeing it and thinking, shit, we gotta make something like that.
Like people who study in film classes eventually remaking it. I mean, Steven Soderbergh remade it with George Clooney. Yeah.
Turned out they missed the entire point of the movie, but
I haven't seen either version, so I'd be curious to watch them back to back.
Yeah, it's it's funny. But yeah. Good pick, yeah.
Have you seen Sunshine?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm glad you said that. I thought I was the only person in the world that's seen that movie.
I love that. Well, I love most of that movie. I think it gets a little bit silly at the end with the killer aspect.
Yeah,
but I think that's a really great science fiction movie, and I think that it has a lot of roots in these harder grounded science fiction movies like Solaris and 2001. I think I love it so much because it reminds me of the vibes of 2001.
Yeah, definitely. It does. I do remember watching it and thinking man, I've never seen anything like this. I believe that film has a cult following, actually.
Good. It deserves it. I think it's criminally underrated. I would probably put it on any underrated movies.
Definitely.
Of mine. What's your next pick, by the way?
So I was gonna let's talk about Toy Story.
Copyright.
Guys, I guess technically,
do your Marge.
Yeah.
Technically, if you want to get to know all about the 1982 Siggraph Awards, the convention, really.
It's just endlessly entertaining to me.
John Lasseter and Toy Story.
You gotta stop.
Yeah, Marge, get the fuck out of here. Toy Story, I guess technically you could say Toy Story, it's the first feature-length 3D animated movie.
Yeah.
Spearheaded a lot of 3D movies later. But technically, John Lasseter had been working on this shit since he saw Tron in the theater.
Crazy.
So he worked for Disney as an animator. Got to see. I think they were when they first released. Either they first released Tron, or he got to see it in the editing booth when they were showing it for feedback reasons. Anyway, he was absolutely inspired by it, and for the next decade and a half, really, almost two, worked on getting 3D animation as a homestay, I totally butchered that sentence. He worked on getting it as a mainstay in filmmaking, right? And he made a bunch of shorts. One of them being the short that's in front of Toy Story, I believe was the Toy Tin Man.
Oh yeah, that one's from the 80s and shit.
Yeah, it was called the Siggraph Awards, and it was where animators and filmmakers would go and show off new technology, and John Lasseter brought that, and that was the big one. Before that, he had smaller ones I can't remember the name of it, but it was this character playing with a butterfly, I think, and it was very short. And people were like, "Wow, that looks amazing! 3D animation, that's coming a long ways." But it was the Tin Man. And the lamp the Pixar lamp. What's his name? Lumiere is what they called it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they had that, and they were like, holy shit, the way he puts emphasis on emotion in an inanimate object was absolutely amazing. And then the Toy Tin Man, the one-man band kind of thing, they put that in front of Toy Story. But Toy Story itself being the first feature-length 3D animated movie, I mean, think about how far we've come now.
Yeah.
John Lasseter's a little bit of a iffy speaking point nowadays, but
yeah.
I think
since his tragic accident,
his tragic car
2008.
accident in 2008, yeah, no, but Toy Story, it really, it's not just the first 3D animated movie. It's a fucking near masterpiece, right? Like, it's so good. I mean, everything's been said about Toy Story, but you have to bring it up. It changed how people thought about animation and a bunch of the films that we get today. So,
Yeah. Wow.
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 Not a whole lot I can add to Toy Story, but I had to bring it up because I do think it's changed a lot.
No, it's definitely how animation is done today. It's based off of Toy Story's technology, and that style, 3D animation is completely overtaken 2D animation.
Well, it even helped visual effects in action movies.
Yeah.
Or in, basically every movie, Everything's
everything's got CG animators working on it,
It definitely brought CGI to the forefront, and we wouldn't have Avatar without that shit, because Avatar is just the extension of that technology.
Yeah, and it's so much better than every other movie ever made, too, which is probably why it's the highest grossing movie of all time.
Yeah. Wait, no, it's not.
Why are you laughing?
Wait, Avatar? Oh, wait, I totally got confused by your sentence.
Wait, do you not think it's the
no, I
greatest
love
movie
Avatar.
ever made?
I love Avatar. I haven't revisited it in a while.
So you
though.
don't think it's the greatest movie ever made?
What if I don't?
Well, then I would probably agree with you. I don't remember too much about it, but it's kind of a bad movie.
It's Fern Gully, but with guns.
Unobtainium.
Unobtainium! I forgot!
That's what he calls it.
Oh, fuck. I do need to revisit that film, though.
You like
Jazz?
George A. Romero?
I love George A. Romero.
Well, he made a movie.
He did.
So, moving on. No, but Night of the Living Dead is probably the most important horror movie ever made. There's that stuff in the 30s, like Frankenstein is obviously, The Mummy, the early Dracula movies, Nosferatu even.
Of course.
But I think Night of the Living Dead, not only did it create our modern perception. Sorry, I had a little stroke there. Our modern perception of the zombie and wildly sensationalized that trend. Zombie meant something entirely different before Night of the Living Dead. They made ghouls. All the goddamn rules.
Right.
Yeah. And it's crazy. It's so good and it's terrifying. There were horror movies before, but none of them had ever been so bleak as Night of the Living Dead. Not a single main character makes it out of that movie. And I think it really paved the way for bleaker horror storytelling that's grounded in real and personal conflicts and examines the failings of humanity. I think Stephen King probably looked at this genre of horror, and that formed the basis of his novels. Is personal conflicts always at the center. The Shining is just a parable on alcoholism and King's own struggles with it. I think Night of the Living Dead allowed for horror to be a very personal and real art form, and I think it's a good indicator of why we should take it more seriously, because horror is very unfairly overlooked by the Academy and by film scholars. People do not want to give it its due. Especially horror with some gore in it. If a movie has violence, you better hope it's tame enough for 50-year-old Academy viewers to enjoy.
Yeah definitely.
And I think that's a damn shame, because there are some brilliant horror movies that come out, and this is one of them for sure. And on top of everything that it does for filmmaking and for the horror genre itself. On top of that, it's one of those early movies to have a black lead. Yes. Just be a main character and honestly steal the show. And it wasn't even like a showy choice. George A. Romero picked him to play that role because he was the best actor for it. It wasn't even a race-based decision, but it spoke volumes to the nation to see that actor in that role.
Yeah, definitely. And such a obviously really good for indie filmmaking, low budget student filmmaking even.
I mean, that's how horror movies are made still. They have like a budget of like $3 million. They have to strive to be creative, and they almost always make a profit.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the funny thing about Night of the Living Dead is like the creators at the time didn't get any money off of it. It was essentially illegally shown across the nation with no credit or royalties being paid to the original creators, which, I mean, don't worry. They all worked together and they made some of the most influential horror movies ever made again.
Yeah,
in the 70s and the 80s. But they did just have to sit with that out in the public domain and not see their hard work and rewards pay off until later,
Right.
But I think it's safe to say that like they would probably all be proud to look at how that movie has shaped the landscape of filmmaking, and like you said, indie filmmaking. It's a self-made man, you know, making this movie with nothing. Essentially, he's just in his hometown hiring extras.
Yeah,
and it's great. It's so great.
It's also, I mean, on top of all that, the zombie genre. I don't know if you remember this growing up, but I was definitely in this craze when The Walking Dead started. Like, I feel like without Night of the Living Dead, we wouldn't have all the zombie movies and that 2008 zombie craze where we had like Zombieland, we had Black Ops Zombies was the game everybody was playing. Like,
all back to George Romero.
All back to George
Dead
Romero.
Rising is just Dawn of the Dead.
Exactly.
With like a hyper stylized format, you know?
Fucking Train to Busan. Like World War Z, all of it.
It's all him. I mean, he literally invented the rules of the zombie.
Zombies,
you know, if there's a movie that has a zombie in it and it bites people and it infects them that way, you tie it back to George Romero.
Exactly.
I mean, it's felt internationally. It's not just an American.
He created a huge craze that wouldn't be realized until like the 2000s. But
I mean, people have always been nuts over zombies, but like especially now it's blown up to crazy proportions. Do you have more movies, or should I just steamroll through here?
Go ahead and steamroll, because the only one I was gonna mention, we can talk about it. Whether you want to say it's Iron Man or the first Avengers, the MCU.
Yeah, the Avengers, I think, would probably be my pick of the MCU for like influential, like that, the modern invention of a crossover and shared universe, you know. Like,
kind of also reshaping the kind of blockbusters people want to watch.
Yeah, mass-produced bullshit. No, I'm kidding.
Well,
it is mass-produced, but
everybody wants everything to be tied into a universe. You know,
it's made movie going into like television watching.
Right.
You know, you have to watch serialized episodes of this film franchise in order to understand what's going on. And I mean, now literally you have to watch serialized television shows in order to fully understand what's going on in the films.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, like if you don't watch Loki, you're not going to get what's going on in like Doctor Strange and the multiverse madness of the whatever the fuck
multiverse madness.
Sam Raimi's back.
Sam Raimi's back. That's all that matters. But yeah, I'd be remiss without mentioning that, because you got it. It has. It definitely has, and it's put Disney in maybe the light they don't want to be in, but it's definitely shed some light on their business practices, on how going forward, and recently with the Scarlett Johansson case and everything. Like, it definitely it's a cultural phenomenon. Like, how can you not?
Marvel is on top of the world.
Exactly.
I mean, it really is. Like,
quite literally.
DC had a head start, but they fucked it up.
They fucked it up. Yep.
They fucked it up.
They fucked it up.
No, Avengers is important. Like, don't let anyone tell you like that it doesn't have cultural significance. It does. It's just like not everyone enjoys that cultural significance. But
And we do talk about it a lot.
I enjoy it. I mean, I diss on it a lot, but I enjoy it.
Yeah,
I'm a fan.
I'm
Clearly,
a consumer.
if I didn't like what they were doing, I wouldn't be here
Yeah,
still. So
exactly.
having Kevin Feige be a steady guiding hand. I mean, it has its pros and its cons, but it keeps the franchise consistent.
Yeah,
it really is.
definitely.
There's always a plan.
Always.
Speaking of no, I don't know. Speaking of film. Now that you mentioned movies, I would say my next pick is Akira. I think like Hayao Miyazaki's like Spirited Away might be like the safe choice or not the safe choice, but or My Neighbor Totoro is like the one that people might go to and be like, this is why, anime is popular in the West, but it's definitely Akira. That movie had a hold on like the culture for a while there. It's punk, it's underground, it's literally cyberpunk. Like this movie is so important in the cyberpunk genre. Like The Matrix is greatly modeled off of this movie. Ghost in the Shell, more directly is modeled off of it. And what?
I'm sorry. You were talking about the original Ghost in the
Yes.
Okay. I forgot there that
you do not have a conversation about influential movies mention remakes.
I'm sorry.
Beloved. No, I'm kidding. But Scarlett Johansson is an Asian woman for all intents and purposes.
Okay.
There's no role she can't play. I mean, she needs to have a conversation with Alec Guinness and Lawrence of Arabia. Those two have a lot to talk about.
I love Lawrence of Arabia.
Anyway. She should talk to John Wayne playing Genghis Khan.
Oh, yeah, that's the one. That's
the worst. And now introducing Rob Schneider as Malcolm X.
Please, God,
Please take it seriously. No, Akira is interesting though, because it is like Studio Ghibli definitely is what people think of when they think of socially acceptable anime in the West, and Akira doesn't share any of that whimsy. Mm-hmm. It's bleak, it's like dystopian. The science fiction at the heart of the movie is like grotesque and body horror elements. It takes a lot from Cronenberg. It takes a little bit from superhero media, and it's all a very interesting blend. I don't know if it holds up the best. I need to rewatch the whole movie again, and maybe with subs on. I don't think the English dub does it a lot of justice, and they've done 2 dubs of that. Like the first one is just like a bunch of like Brooklyn sounding people going like, "Hey, Tetsuo, get over here. We're in the motorcycle gang."
The motorcycle.
And so in the redub that they did, they actually hired like actors to be in the movie. So that was good. I need to maybe make sure that I'm watching that dub. I don't know if I'm watching the good dub or the bad dub. Right. But it's a very beautifully animated movie still. Like no matter what era you watch it in, you can't look at the visuals of that movie and not be like wowed by it. Like especially the night cityscapes and the motorcycle chases. There's like these light lines that pass behind the motorcycles, and it looks like Tron, but it's way cooler looking.
Right.
Yeah, and it's got such visual flair that's definitely inspired a lot of movies, a lot of like science fiction, like comics and animes and series, and even musicians like Kanye West have music videos dedicated to Akira. Like Stronger is just taking scenes from that movie and recreating them. Great shit.
I still need to watch it. It's free on YouTube under a guise. The name of the video is definitely not Akira Full Movie HD, and it's Akira Full Movie HD.
I might need to visit that link tonight before bed. I don't know. I'm feeling like watching something.
Me too.
Feeling like a movie now. Oh man. Well, you're gonna watch your own movie, right?
Yeah.
Film that changed your world.
Right. Wink, wink.
Wow.
I kind of want to watch. I might start it tonight. I want to watch Clint Eastwood's new neo-western.
Cry Macho?
Cry Macho, yeah.
I've heard it's pretty good.
You really?
Yeah.
I'm excited.
I heard like a slight comparison to Gran Torino, which I like. I like Gran Torino.
Fine, yeah.
Yeah, that's like my grandpa's like favorite Clint Eastwood movie. He's like, it was great because he's not racist by the end. I'm like, well, he's also like dead. It's just like bizarre.
Because he's dead. He is okay.
I'm gonna get all those Asian assholes arrested by pulling out my lighter.
What? It's such an interesting movie, but
did you see the wait? Sorry, not to
really
derail
weird.
this.
Good.
Did you see the 2012 Republican National Convention?
No.
I have never forgotten. Like, Clint Eastwood was my hero in 2012. Like, I loved the Dollars trilogy. I loved everything he'd done. And I watched the Republican National Convention, and they had Clint Eastwood come out and talk to an empty chair, and the chair was supposed to be Obama. And it's so great. He's just talking to this fucking empty chair, and he looks insane. Anyway, I think that's the most influential like Clint Eastwood movie out
piece
there.
of media.
Yeah, it changed my world.
Listen, I was thinking about this the other day.
Never meet your heroes.
I know. That's what I was like. That's what I was about to say. Like, I would love to meet Clint Eastwood and be like, you have no idea the impact that you've made on my life, but that motherfucker is 97 years old. He's probably gonna die any moment.
He'd be like, fuck you. Don't talk to me about film. I just want to pass.
I just want to pass away. But yeah, I do want to watch Cry Macho because Clint Eastwood doing a neo-western, like that's just, and he ended the genre. I want to see his new.
Well, didn't
western.
he already do it with like
Was it the Mule or whatever?
Yeah, with the Mule where he had like a threesome.
I guess that was a neo-western. I haven't watched it yet though. That's the thing. I haven't watched the Mule because I heard it was really bad. It didn't really interest me. It wasn't a Clint Eastwood project I was interested in, but Cry Macho is something I'm interested in. So, and I might watch the Mule too. But
yeah. Hey, speaking of film movies, you ever catch that flick, The Blair Witch Project?
Yes.
I think that needs to be brought up.
Before we end.
Yeah. Like I think that movie, not the inventor of found footage. That would be Cannibal Holocaust.
Yeah.
But it's definitely what made it popular, and it plays into like that stalker fear that we were talking about earlier. That slasher like true crime
in the
fear
woods.
where you like you don't walk outside anymore and feel safe because you've heard so many horror stories.
Yeah.
I think that Blair Witch Project is like essential in creating some of that public fear because its biggest hold on the culture was the fact that people thought it was real.
Yeah.
Like they watched this movie and to their credit, like they make it pretty fucking grounded. Like the camera sucks ass.
Yeah.
And like not a lot happens. There's not even really a monster in the movie. There's just some creepy imagery and very well done like sound scares. Like off in the distance.
They created a whole website for the movie that when they were trying to sell it
missing
to producers.
posters. And it worked. I mean, people were uncertain
Terrified.
if they had just watched a documentary or a horror movie. And I mean, it definitely blew up that trend of like a true story, or like based on a true story, and being open about like lying about that too,
Also kind of expedited satanic panic and witchcraft panic. In the 90s to the 2000s, because like what Rosemary's Baby and The Exorcist did was horrifying for their time, but I don't think it was really brought to the culture en masse than what the Blair Witch Project did.
Yeah, do you think that's why we fucking locked up those West Memphis 3 for so goddamn long? The Blair Witch? Or would it... What would you track the satanic panic of the 90s to?
Of the 90s?
Yeah.
The Son of Sam murders.
Oh, yeah.
That was definitely it.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Fun.
And Manson probably.
Fun time.
Or Manson was in... I don't know. It doesn't matter. Either way. Speaking of film...
yeah. We probably don't have too much time to get into it, but I think my superhero pick, I would have put X-Men as it, because I feel like that's the first like successful superhero ensemble movie, and I think that's what a lot of blockbusters today like emulate, that like ensemble, like super powered. Like even Fast and Furious, like modern day Fast and Furious, I think like you can tie that back to the success of X-Men. I mean, X-Men 1, people will say, is dated. I watched it like a million times as a kid, so it kind of holds a special place in my heart. Even as I'm thinking about some of the sillier plot points, I'm like, there are a lot of timeless storylines and character beats there. And I mean, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, I mean, he was probably the first actor to really define long stays in a character, because like Michael Keaton didn't stay in Batman that long. No one had stayed in a role as long as Hugh Jackman stayed in the role of Wolverine. That's important shit right there.
It is. You're right. I think it's the longest running.
Yeah, I think so.
I think maybe Robert Downey Jr. might tie with him, but
no, I don't think he gets close, because he only went from like 2008 to 2018.
19.
Oh yeah, 2019.
So
my bad.
But
Hugh Jackman went from like 2000 to 2017.
That's true.
Yeah, he's got like a 6-year lead on Robert Downey Jr.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah, but those are the only movies that have ever mattered.
The only ones I've watched, actually.
Yeah, I'm really hoping to get into this hobby. If someone could just tell me what a movie is already and point me in the direction of another one, that'd be mighty nice. That'd be mighty nice.
Fine. Well, guys, we love you.
It's okay if you don't want to say it back right now.
Oh, yeah,
I couldn't help but notice that we've been spending a lot of time together, and I'm getting a little bit bothered by the feelings I'm having, and I know that this seems like we're pressuring you now to say it back. You don't have to, but Casey's gonna say it again just to reinforce you to do it.
We love you.
Yeah. Consider it. Consider us.
Yeah.
Choose me. Pick he. Goodbye.
Bye. Oh no, it's not.
Stop it. Stop the oh my god, it's speed in podcast form. We can't stop the podcast. We have to keep recording.
I can't.
You have to record 100 words per minute or the computer will blow up. Oh, fuck. This is bad. We can't stop it. We can't close out of the program without saving it. Oh, no.
Oh, no. What is happening right now?
Oh, God. Oh, God. Okay, I'm looking up Audacity won't stop recording.
It looks like the program's literally like...
Oh, God, it might be crashing. Oh, no. God, this is a risky gambit that we're doing here.
Hold on. I'm going to end Discord.
Oh, you can't even click on it.
What the fuck is happening?
Oh, no. Okay.
If we've just been talking into the void this entire time.
This is stressful.
Okay. So if the project is not saved, the necessary audio data is stored in the temporary folder specified in the directory section of preferences until you exit the application. At that point, Audacity offers the choice of saving a project or not. So it has an autosave feature that can help you when Audacity crashes. This allows you an Audacity recovery. Okay, so let me just end the task, and it should prompt me, or it should save, okay?
Okay.
Guys...